Temperatures dropping. Welcome to the lab. I identify with being a scientist as someone who does this research. I didn't go to college to be a scientist. I don't even know if you go to college to be a scientist or how you become a scientist, but I identify as a scientist because a scientist is always practicing and researching on methods and dealing in truth. And not only the scientist, but also the test subject merging together, right, to share with you what truly works. I say that you should have an idea of the order of the zodiacs. You see how this wall, it has an order to it. I think this is 6-inch bricks, fashioned structurally, overlap. There's an overlap going on here, and there's a certain sequence, right? The same way that these bricks are laid is the way that the astrological chart works. A certain system, a code of sorts, if you will. And both Scorpio and Cancer, they both go hand in hand because they're both water signs. And it deals with the emotions, it deals with the feelings. So we're in our feels a little bit more. We're in our what makes us comfortable. Emotions do come in waves. That's very well put. It comes in waves, and it's only a wave. It's temporary. Let's look at it. Okay? Sagittarius is here. If you notice that Sagittarius is a hot topic. Why is Sagittarius a hot topic? Sagittarius is a hot topic because Mars is in Sagittarius. Why is it a hot topic? Because Mars is in Sagittarius? Because the Sun is in Scorpio. And so there's a connection between the Sun in Scorpio and Mars in Sagittarius. First of all, Mars is an enthusiastic element and energy. Sagittarius is a little fired up, pumped up, fired up, and ready to go. A little more assertive in their behavior. They have a spark, fire, if you will. Easily ticked off too, especially with the lack of sleep. It's important for you to get your rest. And I say that because Sagittarius has Scorpio in the 12th house. And the 12th house, if you will, is the place of solitude, spirituality. So Sagittarius is, go to bed when it's time to go to bed. Don't stay up all night thinking that you're gonna, I got all this energy, I gotta finish the project, I gotta go to bed. You'll appreciate it in the morning time. You got your first journal, congratulations. Good. I was today years old when I looked up what type of journaling is the most profitable type of journaling, what topic to journal about. That's the most transformative. Well, let me share something with you. It's trauma. I looked it up this morning, unless my Google was off or just catering to me. When you journal about traumatic events, it's beneficial because it assists you in integrating. It's beneficial to the degree where even it improves the immune system and its ability to fight sickness. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that? That's mind-blowing. Here's another thing that's mind-blowing. Cancer is the first water sign in the natural zodiac. Key motto for Cancer, I feel. Scorpio is the second water sign in the natural zodiac. So in a sense, Cancer feeling, Scorpio being second, it would be the second feeling. One of the shadow sides of Scorpio is resentment. That's fascinating because the prefix resentment, right? It's a feeling again. When you look at the word etymologically, it's to feel again. And you notice when you're going through a resentment, it's a matter of going back to the first feeling, and it's like another layer to it, or something that was missed, or you weren't heard, or something of the nature, so you're where there's a brewing or anger. Are you with me? Something that's hidden. Not for nothing, that's a characteristic and a key archetype for Scorpio is that which is hidden. Oh, when we write about it, we're able to put the pieces together. When I say integration, it's kind of like this wall. This wall can be likened to a puzzle, the way the bricks are fashioned, right? So when you journal, the mind automatically creates this integrative processing system. I'll tell you this too. Not only is journaling about traumatic circumstances, but it's also doing it for 7 days. Now, I just relearned this. I think I knew it before. Now I've relearned it and I'm sharing it with you, which is helping my neurological processes to remember it and incorporate it and infuse it into the work that I do. I'm excited about this as I identify with as a scientist and the test subject, merging together, sharing with you what truly works. How do you like them apples? Thank you for the double taps, the likes, the shares. Doing this project where I listed some traumatic events or events from my childhood, and I'm going to journal about them for 7 days. Let's get this thing taken care of. And it's so beneficial because, not for nothing and for something, people are like 60, 70, 80, and 90 years old and still have not dealt and integrated these traumatic events from childhood. We're going to take care of this stuff. Nobody wants to hear about trauma, though. Nobody wants to talk about that until they're on their deathbed. Maybe. That you loved me. Yeah, 7 days. I was like, why? 7 days? But I guess it's a whole process. Actually, I have to go back in and see how it's suggested. But sometimes when you get to writing about your childhood, when stuff starts coming up to the surface, like if it was something that was underwater, that it just comes up like a floaty to the top surface when you start writing about it. Isn't that interesting how shit just comes to this shit surfaces like a floaty? Like your traumas, all the contents of the trauma, they swim to the top. All right. So when I started writing, I had to set a timer because and we all got traumas, right? So when I started writing, it was like 4 or 5 things in there. After you do it, it's going to make you feel lighter. You're going to have a good day. Even if you get to crying, you're going to have a great day. Promise you. Once you start. And it may benefit you to incorporate a breathing sequence or pattern, like a box breathing. Implement a pausing. Like if you get frustrated, if you're sitting there and nothing's coming, don't be like, I gotta write something. Again, you can just sit there and take that time to... It doesn't have to start off with trauma. You can start writing about what you remember, even if it's a good thing. Because it's interesting how the subconscious works. It kind of... In astrology, the subconscious is associated with the water signs, and it kind of flows like this current, of water that moves how it moves. It can be eccentric in its path from start to end. I was going to say from start to beginning, but holy cow, 3,000 double taps. Thank you so much. Welcome to the lab. Zodiac sign in the comments. We're having a discussion about Scorpio and Cancer. If you're into astrology, you come to the perfect place. Working with the anger and resentment. I find in my sobriety and my sober journey, I have recently rediscovered that resentment and anger could lead an individual back into relapse. This is what led me to want to look at, and I think that it's a number one, I was going to say killer, but I think it's a big feature to, or item. Doesn't have to be big, doesn't have to be small. It could just be an item that people take with themselves to the grave. It's trauma. And I can see how I've gotten stuck phase of life where I was so resentful and angry and drowned in myself. Powerful. I'm so thankful that I swam to the surface. I had a floaty. I'm so glad that I had a floaty. Throw that kid a life preserver. Splash. I'm so thankful. And not for nothing, and for something at the same time. Even though I'm on day 1 of the journaling about my trauma, I feel good after. I don't know if it's because I fasted yesterday and I did a workout or what it was, but I'm going to see here. Stay tapped in. You're going to want to be with me on my journey. You know? I'm excited. Like, honestly, to tell you the truth, I even discovered trauma is a thing that people carry with themselves, an item that a lot of people carry with them all the way to the grave. Even under the ground, into the grave, they take the item with them. It's an item you're not supposed to take with you, but many people take it with you, right? It's based off resentments and anger. Now, what's interesting and fascinating to me about that is that when it comes to addiction, I'm going to say drinking, and not all drinks, but most drinks are served on ice. And not only alcoholic drinks are served on ice, other drinks are served on ice. But I found in my studies that cold drinks are not really good for the body. It shocks the body, and it restricts the vessels in the stomach so that, you know, your stomach stops working even to a degree. Who would have thought that? So not only does a person have resentments, but then they get to drinking cold drinks, which the shock becomes to be an addiction, and it's limiting you, right? But you also have the alcohol as well. It's amazing. So what I'm saying is that by dealing with trauma and the resentment and the anger and coming back to yourself and telling yourself to be safe, it also leaks into physical well-being as well. Dynamic. Stay tapped in. I'm going to be talking about this a little bit more because I think it's something that people need to hear about and reconnect to. It's so powerful to a degree where that drink is really kind of chilly. And if you end up drinking something that's cold, it's okay, right? Just make sure that you have something that's warm on the side. Will Smith's daughter said chicken noodle soup with a soda on the side. Not the best combination, especially if the soda's cold. Not the best. Chicken noodle soup with some warm tea on the side. It's not that the cold drink is bad, but you want to make sure that you're supplementing it. Brain freeze. When someone drinks a cold drink, when they do that's not an enjoyment feeling. That's actually a stressor. It's your body saying, oh shit, it's the vagus nerve sending off an alarm system. Warm me up. I'm uncomfortable. And then if you look at how the temperature of the body is comfortably at 97 degrees, 97.6. There's no cold in there. I'm excited about your journaling journey. Journaling about trauma. What's your zodiac sign again? Sagittarius? Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the sign of the teacher and the student. We could say that this teacher was a student first, right? Sagittarius loves also to learn. Sagittarius, when it comes to the Sagittarius code, knowledge and truth are constantly on the mind of a Sagittarius per the astrological code. If we were to put Sagittarius in the first place, then it puts Capricorn in the second, and then Aquarius in the third. Sag, Cap, Aquarius, the third. And the third place, or the third room, is naturally the room or compartment of the mind and the thinking. And it connects to the zodiac sign Gemini. So there's a connection there. Even if you're not a Sagittarius rising, just by being a Sagittarius sun, that's called looking at your chart as a solar focus or a solar chart reading, because we're looking just at the sun, which is powerful in Pluto, right? Pluto is now in Aquarius in the third house of Sagittarius, or Sagittarius's third house, which transform and creates this metamorphosis energetic to the thinking processes about knowledge and information. Not for nothing and for something at the same time. Sagittarius is the sign of the teacher, education, the journey, appreciating one's journey and learning from the journey. Sagittarius is the teacher, and it also enjoys learning new things, new tricks, new trades. Oh, you're a rising Taurus. Oh, so you're in the... Oh, you're somewhat of a psychologist yourself. You're interested in the afterlife. Wow, so interested in the afterlife. And interested in the processes of recovery. That's interesting. Why do I say that? I say that because now that we know, or now that you share you're a Taurus, then we put Taurus on the ascendant, and we look and locate Sagittarius. We find Sagittarius in the 8th house. And so the 8th house is the house of shared resources. It's a cocoon house or room. It's a room where things metamorphise. They go through a metamorphosis. I said metamorphise. I don't know if that's actually a word, but so you've been through many metamorphosizing things. You've been through a many more metamorphoses. Metamorphoses. Is that a word? You know, especially in the area of dealing with authority figures. I had to try to put the circle in the square spot. Metamorphosize. Metamorphosis. Metamorphoses. Is it metamorphi? It's a room where metamorphosis occurs. If we were to be semantically and grammatically proper. Sun in the 8th house, the traumas with the father or the father figure, or the traumas that the father experienced and how that impacted you. There's some trauma there. You don't have to say yes or no. You can just keep that to yourself. Keep that between you and your journal. It's dynamic. The zodiac signs are a good place. I got a book coming out in December on ways in which to not only learn astrology, but to also how to apply it to your life through a process of a simplification, a simplified way in which to memorize the zodiac signs, the archetypes, connected to themes in your life. And there's even a journaling section in there. A journal. And this is the thing. When you learn something, here's a scientific, where science meets spirit thing. When you learn something and then you journal about it, or you learn something and then share it with somebody, you relearn it. What do I mean? I mean that I learned something, I researched something online, I'm like, oh wow. And I learn it, that's one learn. And then I come on here and I share it with you. Who learns? And then when I go to sleep, there's a 3 learn. And then if I journal it, there's a 4 learn. There's layered learnings. Decoding patterns of the astrological chart to align purpose, to activate awareness. Right? Because now that we know you're aware that the sun was in Sagittarius when you were born, you're aware that not only do you enjoy learning in real time, but there's a mirror and a connection to the time that you were born to learning by observing the sun's position in Sagittarius. And then you become aware by learning that Sagittarius's ruling planet is Jupiter, and that Jupiter is your ruling planet, and the location of Jupiter in your chart, you become aware of how you learn, and it also shares a little bit more about your character and where you shine. Talking about the sun in Scorpio and resentments, the shadow side, and working on the shadow self. Any Scorpios in here? And we're also talking about the moon in Cancer and that contrast between those two zodiac signs. It's dynamic. It's dynamic. I've been studying this stuff for over 2 decades, helping people unravel the intricacies of the astrological chart. At one time, I was into proving that it was a science. Now I'm at a point where it doesn't even matter if it's scientific or not, because my mind does not care. My mind doesn't care that it's scientific or not. My mind loves that it's a categorization system and methodology. I've created a mind palace of sorts where I'm able to categorize events and experiences in my life, which I'm excited about the journaling about my traumas, because I had to call my mom. I was like, Mom, when did you get married again to that guy? You know, I've done a lot of healing through it and with it, so I'm thankful that my mom's still alive, that I can still reach out to her, grab the phone, and we have a cohesive conversation, you know, where I can ask her that. I already knew. I didn't know the month and the day. I knew the year, or I could have calculated the year, but she shared with me the month and the day. We ended up talking for an hour too, which is also therapeutic, because I was able to share some things with her about that event and what I've discovered with my recovery. Yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm supposed to wait to do journaling until tomorrow morning, but we might have to squeeze in another journaling session tonight before bed so we can go into the dream. Because what I love about myself is that I started dreaming too, which is 12th house activity. Trauma's 8th house activity. Your roots are 4th house activity, Cancerian. 8th house activity. The 8th house is a shared resource house. It's mysterious. You know, traumas have a mystery to them and how they move. They move like water. They're waterish. Waterish. They're watery. Watery, waterish. Welcome in if you just got here. Welcome to the lab. If you have zodiac signs, put it in the comments. Much needed on both ends. Perfect. Thank you for commenting. It fuels me to go deeper. Thus, the scientist, you get it now? Scientist identifying as a scientist and a test subject simultaneously. On a quest to put these traumatic events for the years, to see the sequence, the pattern of years, how they happen. From what I noticed already, from one trauma to the next trauma was 4 years. There's a 4-year gap. So I want to go 4 years before that and see if there's a consistency, and then 4 years after that, 4 years after that, 4 years after that, 4 years after that. And then from the healing point, right, we can measure the change 4 years after that. Scientist, test subject. Merging together like transformers. I think 7 days is a good place to pause, because you want to have reflecting time. You don't want to overload the system. You don't want to Thanksgiving the body. I say Thanksgiving because overload with the dinner. Right? People are like, oh, I'm not gonna eat breakfast. I'm just waiting for the Thanksgiving dinner, and then fall asleep. Not necessarily the best for the system. I want to do what's best for the system. So I liken that. What I'm trying to say is likening the processing time and allow for digestion and integration, not of food, but of the psyche, right? Psychological things and psychological experiences, like traumas, take time to be integrated and processed. So they say, that's why I even looked and seen how much time that I should journal for, because I've journaled before and it was like a half 6 hours. There was breaks, but it wasn't 6 hours straight, but there was breaks and I'd be crying on the paper and shit. Same way as a meal. You want to do what's good, what's beneficial for the body, whether it be for the stomach or the mind. By 15 minutes, and then we pause. We put it down, we do something else. We go for a walk, we do some stretching. We do some sit-ups, go for a bike ride. Break. And then you save it for tomorrow. That way it keeps you excited about doing it. You don't overload the system, and now you're excited. You're like I'm excited to do journaling tomorrow now. I've never been so excited to write about my traumas. Right? I'm taking a pause from it and then go back into it. This is how we do it. Look at that. We stuffed the body. We stuffed the body with all this delicious food and top it off with a cold drink. And we need the body to work in unison the most during Thanksgiving, and we drink ice cold beverage. Talking about now my body's in complete stress after that beautiful meal. Let's stress my body. News to me. Brand new information to me. Now I'm sharing it. All the beverage companies, they know it already. They know that cold shocks the body. They still got ice in all the commercials. Here, have a cold beverage. Because they want you to become addicted to their product. Because the shock, we then become addicted to the shock. What's my preference for tea? I make my own tea. A concoction of herbs.